Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor. Welcome back to Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. Wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody enjoyed spending time with their families. Beautiful, mild, calm fall day here in Long Island, New York. So in today's video, I decided to show you guys and share with you step-by-step instructions on how I prune my rose trees in late fall season. So this tree I have particularly growing in a container over here, and I happen to have two identical trees next to each other. So in today's video, I'm going to give you step-by-step, easy yet proven gardening instructions on pruning rose trees or rose shrubs in late fall season for best overwintering results, as well as maximal growth and maximal blooms come next growing season. So for those of you looking for that online gardening channel that offers tips, tricks, easy yet proven gardening advice to take your home gardens to that next level, don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. Start with going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. For those of you who are enjoying the content of my videos and want YouTube to send you notifications every single time I'll upload a new garden video, don't forget to click the bell icon as well. Now let's get started. So at this point in the fall season, some of our rose trees or shrubs have less leaves as they already have started to drop their foliage. Some trees, such as this one, has a bit more leaves on it, yet it's still starting, already to drop its foliage. So regardless of how much foliage your rose shrub or rose tree still has this time in the season, the step number one when it comes to pruning our rose plants is to remove all of the foliage of our tree or our shrub. So whether it's 2 leaves, whether it's 10 leaves, doesn't matter. So why should we remove all of the remaining foliage? First of all, by removing the foliage, we're able to see the structure of our plant better. We're able to see all of the stems, the canes or the branches. We're able to see what is happening with our rose plant. And another reason to remove all of the foliage is because by removing the foliage, we are getting rid of any potential pests or disease that could be hiding or harboring in our plant. For example, over here, you could see that my rose tree did have some black spot fungal disease issues this past growing season. So by removing the remainder of the foliage, now I am helping get rid of this disease, because again, I do not want this disease to happen to my rose plant again comes next growing season. I know, guys, that some of our rose shrubs are larger, bushier, thicker, and I know this can get pretty tedious to remove the leaves. But believe me, guys, you do not want to skip this step. It is a very, very important step to do, is to remove the foliage. Don't worry about making a mess, guys. We will be cleaning up whatever mess we are making now. So if you see any leaves on the soil level, on the ground, on the floor, don't worry about it, guys, because we will clean it up in just a few minutes. Make sure, whether the leaves are green, whether the leaves are yellow, whether the leaves are brown, any color, guys, remove all of them. Trust me, guys, you do not want to leave your rose plant with any remaining foliage, because over the winter season it will start to harbor pests and disease, and we don't want that to happen. So there you go, guys. I have removed all of the remaining foliage from my rose tree. You could see that the branches are bare. The canes are bare. You could see the trunk of the tree clearly. You could see all of the canes clearly. Now we have a better look at the structure of our tree. So what is step number 2? Step number 2, guys, is to remove any and all of either dying or dead wood or canes from our rose shrub or rose tree. So now some of you might be wondering, how do you know? How can you tell if the certain branch is dying or dead? Well, first and foremost, brown is dead, green color is alive and living. I have a video on my gardening channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, where I go into great depth and detail and give you step-by-step instructions on how you could tell whether your rose plant is still dormant after a long winter season, whether your rose plant is potentially dying, or whether it is already unfortunately dead. So for those of you who are interested in that video, it is still available on my gardening channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, so check it out as well. But either way, any brown colored branch is dead. So we want to cut off anything that is brown in color. Also, if you feel a dead branch, it is almost always hollow on the inside, and you can easily even snap it right off. But anything dead or dying, anything brown, we cut off. Another great way to tell, guys, is by doing something called a scratch test. How do you do a finger scratch test? Again, guys, in my other video on my gardening channel, the one titled, How Can You Tell If Your Rose is Dormant, Dying, or Dead? I give you step-by-step instructions in regards to all of these steps. But you remove your glove, you choose a branch, and you use your index finger to lightly scratch a little bit of the skin off of your branch. And if you still see green coloring on the inside, that shows you that the branch is still alive. If you do a scratch test and you see that the interior, the inside of your cane or your branch is beige, brown, hollow, so no signs of green pigmentation, that means that that particular branch is either in the process of dying or unfortunately is already dead, and that branch would also need to be cut off. So now when you are trimming dead canes or dead branches, make sure you cut them all the way down to the base. You do not want to leave any remainder of the dead branches, because by leaving those dead branches on your plant, you are having your mother plant or your rose tree or shrub keep sending that energy into something that's no longer viable or living. So cut it off. What is stage number 3? Step number 3, guys. Step number 3 is to open up the center of our rose shrub or rose tree. We want to be able to see each of the branches clearly. We want to be able to allow as much air circulation to get in between the branches, again, to avoid disease or pests. So we are going to look for any crossing branches. The idea to keep your rose shrub or rose tree healthy is to have straight, thick, upward growing branches, kind of in a shape of a vase, where our branches are straight, upward growing, and you have clear access to the center of your plant. You do not want to have any branches crisscrossing. So let me show you an example of a crisscrossing branch. Right over here, guys. Take a look. Do you see how these branches are so close to each other? And when there is foliage on your tree, those leaves will be touching each other. And we never ever want that to happen. Remember, if you unfortunately will get some sort of a fungal disease such as black spot on your rose, and your rose leaves or branches are very, very close to each other, if they're crisscrossing or nearing each other, that fungal disease will spread from one branch or one leaf to the next. If, say, you have aphids on your rose plant, if you have branches that are crisscrossing or nearing each other, guess what? The aphids or the pests will spread like wildfire and will attack your entire plant as well. So here you could see that these two branches are clearly crisscrossing. So what you want to do is you want to eliminate this situation, and we will cut them off. Any branch, here is another example. This branch is growing upward and was crisscrossing. Take a look over here. It was clearly crisscrossing with this branch over here as well. So now I cut it off and I removed it. Over here, this branch is touching, almost touching this branch. We do not want that to happen. So we're gonna cut this branch off as well. Take a look here, guys. Look how close this branch is to this branch. So we're going to cut this branch off as well to eliminate any of the crisscrossing. Now, this branch is also very close. Let's cut it off. So the idea is any branch that is too close to another branch or is, again, crisscrossing another branch, we eliminate to eliminate any chance of pests or disease or branches rubbing against each other, hence causing damage to each other. The next step is to remove any and all of the blooms, whether they are spent blooms, whether they are still in bloom. Don't worry about it, guys. We have already gotten multiple frosts here in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A in the past few weeks. We are a matter of days away from freezing temperatures. So once those temperatures, freezing temperatures come, Mother Nature will kill off these blooms anyways. So right now is the perfect time to cut them off, which is helping our mother plant by removing the foliage, by removing the blooms. We are telling our mother plant that this is it for this year's growing season, blooming season, and it is time to relax, and it is finally time to go to sleep into its long-awaited, well-deserved dormancy phase. So any of the blooms or seed buds, also known as hibiscus buds, you must cut off this point in the late fall season, because you are helping the mother plant finally stop sending the energy into the foliage that's no longer needed, into the blooms that are no longer, applicable. Very soon they'll no longer be viable either. You want the mother plant to focus that energy on its own root system, to go into that well-deserved dormancy phase, and to make sure that it comes back to us beautiful and strong come next spring season. So now we have removed any and all of the dying or dead branches. We have cut off any branches that were crisscrossing or getting in the way of each other. We have also cut off any remaining blooms, hibiscus pods. Now, what is the next step? The next step is to remove any of thin branches. So the rule of thumb is, If a branch is thinner than a number 2 pencil, we remove it. We get rid of it. We want the mother plant to focus its energy on upright, straight, thicker growing canes. So let me show you. Any branch that is thinner than a number 2 pencil, we get rid of. Here is another example of a branch. You can see how skinny it is. We want to get rid of it. And so forth. We want the mother plant to have beautiful, strong, upright, growing, thicker branches. So this is clearly a nice thick branch. So is this one in the back over here. So this is ideally the thickness you want to have. Nothing that looks like this. These are very skinny, especially these ones. They're flimsy. So anything that looks weak, thin, we want to get rid of. Don't be afraid, guys. I know that after this pruning, our rose plant might look, you know, smaller, thinner. Some might even call it scary looking because it's gonna look unrecognizable, guys, compared to what you started with. Don't worry. Roses love a good prune. Pruning helps our plants grow stronger, healthier, because pruning allows for better air circulation, and pruning allows for better, longer, larger blooms. So now we're going to again remove any canes that are smaller and or thinner than a number 2 size pencil, or any cane that looks flimsy or weak. We're going to cut those stems or canes off the branches. We want to keep only the branches that are nice and thick. So here's an example of a nice thick cane over here. This is another excellent example of a nice thick cane. Those we definitely want to keep. The rest, the skinny or the flimsy ones, we do want to get rid of. Now, guys, what is the next step? Now we are left with our thicker, healthier, upright canes. So now we have to finish pruning those as well. The next question that may arise is, how tall or how short do you prune those? What is the rule of thumb? Well, that all depends on what your final goal or outcome is. Are you growing your rose tree in a container? Do you grow your trees or shrubs as a border plant? Now, if you're growing them as a border plant, if your shrubs or trees are in front of the border, you do want to prune them shorter for the landscaping appeal, for the curb appeal. If they are in the back of your border, you do want to prune them less because you want to keep them on the taller side. When it comes to rose trees, we do want to give our tree that nice shape, that nice appeal. We do not want to have branches growing in random directions, some taller, some shorter. So now, where exactly and how do we prune the remaining canes? Let me show you. So now, we want to make sure that our canes, the leftover canes, are all going to be relatively the same height. Remember, guys, we want that shape. So now, you have to look for something called a bud or a node. Let me show you an example of what a node looks like. Come over here, guys. You see those buds on the canes? Here is another one up here. Here is another one up there. Sometimes they're green. Sometimes they're more brown in coloring. Sometimes they have this burgundy coloration to them. Here is another example of a rose bud or a node. They are roughly spaced out, roughly 3 inches apart. So now what you want to do is you want to locate the buds or the nodes, and you want to make the cuts about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch above the bud. And the cut that you're going to make has to be at a 45-degree angle like this. Here you could see that I've been pruning the larger remaining canes. I am pruning them at relatively at the same height to give my rose tree that shape that I'm looking for. I have a few left over. Here again, guys, look for the nodes. Here is an example of a node. Again, here is another one. Here is another one. They're always spaced out by about 2 to 3 inches apart. We want to get about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch above a given node and to cut at a 45-degree angle. Why are we cutting at a 45-degree angle, some of you might ask? For 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is that if you're going to cut your branches straight, you are going to leave an exposed bruise on your rose plant's cane. Remember, you're cutting into a live branch. So by leaving an open, rounded, exposed bruise, you are in a way welcoming disease and pests to come on right over and attack your rose plant. Now, if you're cutting in a 45-degree angle, you're leaving that slant, that slope, which makes it much harder for pests to crawl into that exposed open bruise. Also, new stems do grow in the spring the same direction of that bump or that node. Remember that pimple looking bump that we just talked about? And apologize the comparison pimple, but that's what a lot of people compare it to, and that's how they're able to locate it. Now, so if you're cutting at 45-degree angle, you are encouraging that straight, upright, strong, new stem growth come next spring season. So don't forget the 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch above the node, and also 45-degree angle cuts, like so. Take a look, guys, how much better my rose tree is looking already. Remember what we started with? The bushy growth, the yellow foliage, the spent blooms, all of the crisscrossing branches, all the dead branches. Take a look now. Look how much better my tree is looking. You could see the center of the tree. You could clearly see all of the branches. Look how much more air circulation my rose tree is going to get now after this pruning. Now, guys, make sure that you clean up any and all of the blooms and the foliage that you just cut off, especially from the soil surface above your plant's root system. Never ever compost any of this debris. This always has to be thrown out, especially if you know that you had to deal with pests and or disease on your rose plant this past growing season. Get rid of it. Never compost it, or you are at a risk of spreading either fungal disease or pests. So I always get rid of it. So you will need a garbage bag, a gardening bin, a basket of some sort, a garbage can, anything that would help you discard of all the debris that you just cut off your rose plant. Now that we have beautifully pruned our rose tree and we cleaned up all of the leaf, foliage, and flower and stem debris, basically we cleaned up all the mess, everything looks nice and clean. The next step is to fertilize our rose plant for the winter season. Roses are very heavy feeders, guys. they love their fertilizer. So you should always make sure that you give plenty of healthy, organic nutrition to your rose plant. I always like to use the Sperm Organic Rose Stone when fertilizing my rose shrubs or my rose trees, whether they grow in the ground or in containers. If you do not have access to a Sperm Organic Rose Tone, you can use a Sperm Organic Biotone. You can use a Sperm Organic Plant Tone, a Sperm Organic Flower Tone. Any of those will work great. If you don't have any access to any of their Sperm Organic products, you can use slow release, biodegradable fertilizer. That is absolutely fine, guys. There are other companies that make gorgeous fertilizers specifically formulated for rose plants as well. But I will link the Sperm Organic Rose Stone in the comment section below. And no, guys, I'm not associated with them, affiliated with them in absolutely any ways. I just use their products in my home gardens on an everyday basis, and they do wonders for me and my garden, and of course the plants that I grow. So now, guys, all you have to do is take a thorough amount of the rose tone. Again, there are clear instructions on the bag of how much you should use. I always like to eye it, and I always like to sprinkle it right on the soil around my plant's root system, like this. And I like to use my hand to just roughly kind of rake it into the soil. And then, of course, you can either water it with a hose or a watering can, or if you know that rain is expected in your forecast in the next day or two, you can just let it be this way, and Mother Nature will do the job. But don't skip the fertilizing task now. Right now, we helped our mother plant go into its dormancy phase for the long, cold winter season. So by fertilizing the plant now, you're really, really helping out your plant overwinter better and to come back stronger than ever next spring season. So here we are, guys. I have pruned both of my potted rose trees. Here is our tree number 1. Look how nice and clean it looks like. You could see all the branches clearly. There's lots of spacing in the middle of our tree. Much better air circulation. No branches crisscrossing. And here is my other potted rose tree. Also looks nice and clean. You could see each branch clearly. You can clearly see the distance between each branch. Very, very nice. And look how neat they're looking now, guys. So this is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on this gorgeous mild fall day in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. In today's video, I gave you clear, yet proven, step-by-step instructions on how and when to correctly prune your roses for maximal growing success and maximum blooms come next growing season. For those of you who enjoyed the content of today's video, if you found today's video to be useful, helpful, informative in any way, show me that support by clicking thumbs up below, guys. Leave your comments in the comments section as well, guys. Let me know, do you grow rose shrubs or rose trees in your home garden? If so, when and how do you prune your rose shrubs or your rose trees? For those of you who haven't yet subscribed to my gardening channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, what are you waiting for, guys? Super easy for you to do, yet super pleasing and rewarding to me, knowing that you guys enjoy watching my videos, that you find the content of my videos to be useful, helpful, and informative in your own home gardening. Stay healthy, happy, be well, each and every single one of you, and happy gardening, guys, and I'll see you again in my new upcoming gardening videos. Bye, guys.